Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Tyree Boyd-Pates, and I am the founder of Freedom School Online, and I am with the indomitable Hannah Mayree for Freedom School Online's Summer School Session number 2, celebrating Black Music Month while we're also reclaiming it. And you're in for a treat because Hannah not only is someone who is deeply inspiring, but she just finished giving a fantastic teaching to Freedom Schoolers to understand why and how she reclaims Black music through the banjo. So thank you for coming, Hannah, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And y'all are in for a treat. So we're going to go straight into this, Hannah, and feel free to go long or feel free to go short. I want the public to know how fantastic your practice and your work truly is. So my first question for you today is, the original one. When did you first fall in love with the banjo and the medium you work with?
That's such a good question. Love. Yeah, when I think about this instrument and I think about how I was able to develop my own relationship with it, that I definitely would consider a relationship of love and many other emotions. Yeah, I think it's just about being able to be introduced to the banjo really as an adult, like as a young adult, and really being exposed to music my whole life, but then meeting the banjo, at a really pivotal point in my life, actually, at a time when I was doing a lot of really interesting and amazing travels and exploring for the first time, like being like green, just like in that space. But yeah, it was being able to love it, I think, is something that's definitely happening now. And I'm experiencing more of that. Music is something that I definitely express through different emotions, including kind of like wonder and sort of like existential questions that I think the banjo raises many of them. And I think because I'm a questioner, that also has, put me in a space to just explore the banjo and a lot of different things as a musician, and also as an organizer and as a builder, a crafter, like as an artist personally, but also with my community and with people who have yet to, I've yet to be in community with, but feel like it's been a really good experience, that part. And yeah, I appreciate everyone that I've been able to do this work with and collaborate with.
Appreciate you bringing your origins up, because you, like me, are both based in the West, and LA, the West, California, the Bay are kind of having a renaissance of sorts, if one might argue, or of our interests of the cultural workers that we're working within. And I know that the West, the Bay, the cities you've stopped in and out of and came out of and in through have been foundational for you. And I'm curious to know how that unique environment for you has influenced your creative process and your relationship to the banjo. Big question.
How has that been, saying, being from?
How does the city, how does how does home influence, the West influence your work? And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Yeah, I think just everything, because I am such a geographical person and I'm such a person that's like connected to space as a traveler and as somebody, I'm originally from Sacramento. It's traditional Nisenan territory. And that's kind of where I consider my original hometown, where I came to this planet. And I definitely still reside in California. And also, since being born, I feel like my parents did definitely gave me kind of the gift of travel as well, just like taking me places. And it was like something that really affected me as well, because like voyaging is a big part of my story for sure. And going to the other side of the country and going and being with family and folks from different parts of the diaspora in, you know, many ways, and the origins of where my family comes from as well. So like, yeah, that was a big way that I was able to be exposed to more music and also my own like familial, ancestral, like knowing. And so space and being on land that's just taught me a lot. And yeah, as of, you know, where I am currently in Chicago, Potawatomi, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, so being like next to these huge bodies of water, or like being in the forests of, you know, the West Coast and whatnot, because I'm definitely in a more rural area. And so that's kind of how the West has influenced me, the different cities that I've been in, but also the spaces that land holds. Just that we do have the choice to exist in, and there's a lot of different realities that you know you assume when you come into being in those places, like literally. So yeah.
You said something really interesting about realities, which is amazing, because the next question I have for you is that with awareness that Freedom School Online aims to share liberatory modalities, right? Or and for our listeners who don't know what that means, liberatory techniques, you know, our approaches. How do you define liberation, Hannah? And how does your approach to the banjo work contribute to the liberation of Black people as a whole? Big question, but I think you got this.
Yeah, it's real. And it's like on the real though.
On the
real, like there's a certain level of integrity that at least I am just trying to uphold in myself, and also just in this work. As much as possible to like be in an offering state and be in a humble state, and one of like accountability and relationship building. I think with music, and with folk music particularly, we're talking about like the music of the people. That's a liberatory practice that we kind of own as people, as humans. Like we literally have the ability to sing. We have the ability to drum. We have the ability to like create music with instruments, you know? And that's something that we do naturally. And I think anything that is natural can be liberatory as well, like connecting us back to this earth, like this connection that we have to who we are and our folks, like the ways that we exist, the ways that we can like not only survive but thrive, and like knowing that we come from people who have thrived and also had to go through different adversity as well. So with the banjo as a liberatory practice, it's not, you know, it's firstly connected to indigenous practices that we have had to create instruments out of earthen materials, plants, animals, trees, you know, like living, breathing beings. So that's part of what the banjo is. As far as like which banjo you choose to use or like to have, you know, like that's a whole nother conversation. You know, and like that's the freedom within, you know, the art form, right? Like, cause you also you're not necessarily confined to a genre. You're not confined to like a type of banjo or a type of music. It's like, there's like the honoring of what has come before us. And then there's also the like moving forward and creating and being in the living tradition. And so like being in a liberatory practice, you know, I do think is connected to art and the things that we create. and how like our lives being art, just not just in the practice of music, but also what we choose to pay attention to and give our energy to, and just some of those perspectives that can give us solace and give us kind of our own advice and whatnot. But the banjo has been connected to tradition. The idea that tradition can be a connection with the earth.
Yeah, that's a good answer. You said something key about the connection to art as well. And I know that you are an artist, but I'm curious to know if you see yourself as an archivist, because I see that the work that you do is preservation. And I'm curious to know if you consider yourself one, and if so, how does your work help preserve the medium of the banjo, especially for our people? And perhaps through your organization, just for those who may not know all the great work the collective is doing too.
I think that's a great question, especially coming from you, just like knowing that this is kind of your background. And I love that you can reframe that for me, because, you know, quite honestly, like, you know, I'm learning all the time. And like, I think also part of, at least for me, this sort of aspect of decolonization is also just the fact that like I didn't really like go to college and like get all these degrees and stuff. And so I'm like, I'm really just out here, I guess, just be a person, like learn some stuff, whatever. And like, this is just what I think and this is what I feel. But like, it's just because I'm a person, and I get that a lot of other people just like get that and have come to those conclusions. And so, yeah, with the Black Banjo Reclamation Project, we work with the banjo in community in a lot of different ways. And that has been through banjo education and history. And so I definitely feel you on the archivist for that part, because there's, when we acknowledge where we've been, we are preserving that. I think it comes with that. And then it's just a combination of just the fact that like, it's tracking the amalgamations of things as they change and as we change them moving forward. And I think the banjo really, you know, there can be so many examples when, you know, the form of the banjo itself, you know, like having like, you know, I'm sorry that you're not going to be able to see this because it's because of the way that the green screen is, but there's different.
Do you know what kind of banjo that is? I would know. I'm sure you do.
You said what?
Oh, what size or kind of banjo that is that you just held up?
This is like a modern banjo.
Nice. Good to know.
So
it's a modern banjo, y'all, by the way.
Yeah, it's a modern banjo of today, straight up, you know.
Straight up.
I think that our organization, like, we would love to like one day be like, well, we are basically like a plug for banjos. Like, we actually have, if you go on our website, we have a form that you can fill out and be like, I'm looking for a banjo. This is my price range. Like, straight up, like, we have banjos. Like, we'll actually get people banjos for like, yeah, so I just wanted to talk about a little bit about our banjo brokerage that we have, basically, which is something that we came when I had a banjo as well. My first banjo, it was given to me. It was given to me by a friend eventually after borrowing it for a very long time. And I thought that was a good idea. I was like, you know, at the time, like, I wouldn't have been able to necessarily afford a banjo. Like, it would have taken me a lot to get, you know, a banjo. And so I really appreciated that. And I was like, I think that more people want this. And so, like, we have distributed like upwards of 60 banjos over the last like 5 years. Like, we have literally gotten them mostly individually, and then some, like, there was, you know, we've been sponsored by Deering, you know, they've given us banjos before as well. So I'll just like, you know, and that's 10 people in the world that have a banjo. And like, there's a lot of other people that have been in this position, including myself, like I said. And so that's a program that we really, really wanted to continue and have be like kind of a centerpiece of what we do. And part of that too has been our shift has been that like we're definitely still going to have some scholarships. Like we want to offer that for sure. And also we like are going to be selling banjos. Like, yes, it's absolutely going to be at like a reduced rate. Like we want to give people what is like, but like as far as like shipping costs like $100, you know, so it's like, oh cool, like you got 100 on it, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you have like, it's kind of like, it's not even like saying that like, I'm like, that's what I'm trying to get money for is the shipping cost of banjos. Like I will do what I need to do to get banjos to people and have it be a liberatory practice of somebody being like, I really just like wasn't able to do this. And at the same time, like these things are worth money. And like, it's something that is straight up like these banjos cost like thousands of dollars, a lot of them. And so it's like, even if you're able to get a reduced rate on something like that, like that's good. Like, as far as I'm concerned. So either way. And then of course, like, yeah, like just trying to like use some level of capitalism, like, you know, go from like, oh, never ever sell, you know, never having it be like a source of income to like, oh, that's also an option, you know, and sort of just wanting to be like a little more in the self-determination space with just making those things available, because like these are things that we've been doing, like just literally driving and picking up, dropping off, and like fixing and like just getting to people, having people send them directly, like different ways. And there's a lot of people who can honestly test for this. Like I'm sure there's a lot of them out there. I'm like, I wish I could be like, open up the lines, you know, open up the main lines. Like I want to hear from callers, like, you know, but yeah, mostly just like, I want to continue that. And I really like that that's been something that's been able to happen. So
not you having a banjo brokerage, like that is so and so lit. And like you're trapping and using banjos to trap, like that is so fire to me, like so fire. And the way that you're doing these youth builds and bringing banjos to the hood is also like, it's like, who gonna stop us? Like, who gonna stop us? It's so lit to me and like so inspiring, because then I'm like, well, if Hannah could trap banjos, what could I trap? And of course, legally. We never know. But what I also see is why I'm so fond of your work and the collective's work and your practice is because the timing of how it coincides with the public zeitgeist, right? Many would argue.
Somebody asked about that. Remember, they were like,
I remember.
What do you think about the Beyonce thing?
That's the next question. That's
right. Yes, thank you. Because I was like, oh my God, we forgot about that.
No, and this is why the podcast needed to happen, to get so the world could hear your perspective of this, because your work, as the audience will learn more as they go into wormholes about all the amazing stuff that you and the collective are doing. But 5 years of work, I mean, you were doing this 5 years ago, like you started this 5 years ago. And today in 2024, for our audience, many would argue that we're currently in a renaissance for country folk music, music, and utilizing the banjo, many might argue. And so my question is, do you agree that we're living in a renaissance moment for folk music, black country music, etc.? And if so, what do you want others to know about your practice and your approach, especially for future generations? So think hypothetically, someone who's going to pick this up or listen to this in 20, 50, 70 years, what would you say of this moment, renaissance, etc., and Beyonce's, etc.?
I think with folk music in general, like it is something that I know it's been part of like a lot of this larger conversation, but it does end up being too about like class and race and all of these things. And so I think some of that is pretty distorted just in the there's like a country music industrial complex, as I've like heard like people like Reese Palmer talk about and this kind of stuff. Like, so there's that, like, just, it just, you know, I can acknowledge that, like, there's just a lot of those types of things at work. And also just like folk music, I'm just sort of like sticking with it being like something that has been part of, you know, resistance and that kind of thing. And
so I hear you and just want to tease out the answer. Do you think that we are in a renaissance moment for the medium using the banjo? And if we are or aren't, how distinct is your approach to it? And how distinct is your approach to it during this renaissance moment, if you believe we're in one or not? Yeah,
how distinct is what I'm doing?
Oh yeah. Oh no, this is about you. Yes. Yes.
I mean, I think I think that what I'm doing is important, just because I'm kind of like, I think what it is that we're all doing with the Black Banjo, right? Like, folks, like, I'm like, you know who you are. I think, at least for me, I just think if we're going to be going off of like what is folk music, we should be going off of Black people. You know what I'm saying? That's just for me. I'm like, if we're going off of something, it's Black people that we're going to be talking about. And so I get that people have to like go on YouTube and like find, and then it's like white people. Like, I get that. Like, you know, and so that's what I think people like, it would be that I would love. I think we will definitely be at those points of just providing more services in that type of way of like, this is now represented, you're seeing this represented, and you're able to just have that experience where you're not just being traumatized, because, you know, whatever, like, it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. For me, you know, and I think for maybe some other people too, it's like just the experience of being around white people in the context of the banjo can be a weird experience depending on the people. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think there's a lot of really sweet people out there. And so that's why I'm like, I'm not trying to be a hater. I think a lot of them are really sweet. You know, I just feel like the whole experience of them telling you, you know, for me, it's like, okay, you're going to tell me. And I'm like, whoa, you know, so I'm just like, no, like, I just want to be rooted, if, you know, in something as much as possible of like lineages of Black folks, and also like just being really open to, you know, just all of the people, all the generations, like the generationalness of people coming to the banjo, you know, in different ways, and coming to music. It doesn't have to be like a nostalgic thing or whatever, but like some of it is like just hearkening to different times, but we're very much in a very modern time. Like, we're on this call right now, we're like on Zoom, and we're having new ways of creating community.
Which I think is not only the future, I think it's the now, I think it's the present. And I love how you, through reclaiming the Black Banjo Project, you said you know who they are. Like, you gave a shout out. And this is that time where like it's the closing thoughts portion of this conversation. Like, give your closing thoughts, the shout outs. Who should the listeners be listening to as they listen to you? Because you said Sule in the teaching, right? Like you said, like what are your closing thoughts? And then the appropriate shout outs, maybe even within the collective, that the rest of the world should know about and follow up with, if they want to be down with the crew.
Honestly, like that, yeah. The resource guide. Yes. That will definitely be like, that is like the easiest way to, because I feel like there's, it's like, it's pretty basic, like, you know, but there's a bunch of people on there. I think there's just the like, because I don't know, I just try to avoid the whole like, we're saying the same 5 people over and over again. It's like, just look at that. It's the same people that you would find if you Googled it. Like, I don't know. Like, I will put on everybody that I find. Like, you'll actually be able, if you look at our Instagram stories too, you'll find artists to love.
Artists to love. Where can they find you? Where's the Instagram?
Instagram, Black Banjo Reclamation, like definitely there. You know, we have a new website, Black Banjo Reclamation Project.org. And then, yeah, for me, you know, my music is Hannah Mayree. So under all the platforms, Hannah Mayree, like you can find music there. You know, I have a Patreon. I have some little cute videos that I'm about to put up there.
It's about to drop the videos, y'all.
You know what I mean? And like I said, Black Banjo Reclamation Project is going to be more active online as well as in different regions.
Sure.
So hopefully the region that you're in, like we're at least, you know, at most a few years away from doing something close to you. But then like right now we're definitely based in California a lot. We're also in Chicago, like there's a lot of different people through BBRP that like I feel like I can connect people with if they're like in a, you know, that's I would hope to be a connector to folks in more communities so people can like play music together and, you know, explore different artistic styles together and yeah, just have some more opportunities with music. So and whatnot.
Well, on that note, from the heart of Freedom School Online, the founder, me, I want to say thank you so much, Hannah, for giving the gift of your time, the gift of your afternoon, the Chicago sky, and how you've continued to guide us all into the directions of reclaiming what's ours. Because and for real, like giving you your flowers, I'm on an individual historical quest to reclaim as much Black history as possible. But you've opened up the channels of my mind to reconsider the ways in which, even down to the bare instruments that is used within Black music, which I view as Black history, also need to be reclaimed in like tangible and actual ways. And even by instrument, I had never even thought of. I'm so interested. I've been so invested in just reclaiming Black music that I hadn't even focused on the instruments themselves and how they predate this country. Like, so thank you for broadening my individual perspective on this as a historian, but you're also expanding it for lay people to consider the banjo as a weapon for damaging historical amnesia. Like we're better for you doing the work you're doing and the collective. So on that note, thank you all for listening today. This is Tyree Boyd Pates from Freedom School Online signing out, and hopefully you'll now know how to reclaim Black music during Black Music Month here in June 2024. Thank you all and have a beautiful evening. Bye, Hannah.